Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I'm your host, Charles. Along with me, as always, my co-host, our producer, co-pilot, gunner, navigator, orator, and podcasting associate, Jacob Gloth. How you doing today, Jacoby?
I am swell, Charles, and excited. Another episode of the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. Episode, I think this is, 262 or something like that?
262.
Somewhere around there, you know. Whoever, if you're watching this, you probably know. But it's around there.
Yeah.
And as always, we're coming up with new story ideas, bringing you a new TV show, film, movie, etc., with plot lines and characters and all that interesting stuff. Nothing but good
arcs.
stuff.
Sometimes we have casting. Sometimes we have like soundtracks. You know.
Sometimes we'll read a couple.
Yeah. Sometimes we'll perform those scenes together, alone, not with no audio, no cameras.
I mean, okay. But
just
usually,
ourselves.
And as always, we have the pilot and maybe some episode ideas, as this is the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. And you gave me, Charlie, a title, which was, if you can remember it, because it was a while ago at this point.
It was Underground Funk.
Underground. Now, Underground Funk.
Yeah.
I went with a very simple idea. I was kind of interested to see what you were thinking of, because I was thinking sci-fi, but then I ultimately went a sitcom-y route, and I was wondering what you were thinking when you gave this to me, if you were thinking of anything.
Well, my kind of initial thought when I heard when I wrote down Underground Funk was of like a sort of pseudo Footloose universe in which like music is banned. And so it's like a comedy, right? So a comedic, funny show about these people who run a sort of like underground railroad for all sorts of like cool and interesting music. And so each episode you get in a new musical guest star and they get to perform, and it's, you know, a fun sort of thing. And so it would be like a speakeasy underground, and you just kind of follow our cast of characters as they like hide from the cops, and they get the booze sorted in, and they get their guest star for the week and whatever, you know?
We went not quite
like
the same
live,
idea. I gotta stop
live.
asking you this question because occasionally you throw ideas that are better than the ideas that I came up with for the episode. But we did have a somewhat similar thing, because you mentioned the speakeasy being underground, which is what I kind of did for this one. So in this, we have a sitcom which centers around a couple who've recently got out of college and have started an underground bar/cafe.
Oh, cool.
So this is set in contemporary Canada. All the I don't know what city. I was thinking Quebec or Montreal, but I don't know. I need like a city that would have this kind of area to it, that would have like a subway system. Because the cafe is going to be an underground subway, which I thought was neat. Or an old
I'm pretty
abandoned
sure it's
metro
Montreal. Maybe it's Ottawa. Has like a huge underground like mall system. Like there's a bunch of tunnels underground because it's so cold that's the only way you can get around reliably.
Interesting. Well, somewhere in Canada, everyone in this show, well, not everybody, but like all the main people in this show are in their mid-20s. They've all like either just graduated college or recently graduated, and they're, you know, starting to do careers and stuff with their lives, right? So our central characters are the main guy. His name is Haruki, or Ruki for short. He's a very stressed, gregarious writer who loves jazz. He's sort of the linchpin of this small business. He really wants to own his own little business, and he's prone to working too much. Loves baseball. He's a Blue Jays fan. So maybe this will be set in Toronto, because the Blue Jays are based in Toronto, or he's from Toronto. It doesn't really matter. Wears a lot of tweed as well. Then we have his new girlfriend when he was in college, which is Hanako, or Hannah for short. Her friends will call her Hannah, but Haruki, or Ruki, the main guy, will call her Hanako. Hanako. Jesus.
Hanako.
And so Hanako, or Hannah, is a painter. She likes to display her paintings in the shop so that she can sell them. Very adventurous, likes doing trips. Not super into working at the cafe. It's not really her, her life that she wants is to be a cat. She's like, she doesn't want to be a cafe owner. She wants to be a painter. But she supports, her husband. Likes to. I've given everybody outfits, so she's very prone to wearing like long skirts and shirts that are painted, like stained with paint. So she she'll be painting in a studio, and it's got leftover paint on it, and she doesn't like change her shirt. She just keeps on the same shirt that's got like a splatter of red or yellow paint or whatever on it. Then we have Barbara Toms. Barbara Toms is a culinary student or graduate who just got her first job at a restaurant. Likes to try new things, very spontaneous, but somewhat sporadic in her personality. Always dramatically changing her style. Sometimes she'll be very cute and stylish. Other times she'll be very sort of laid back, sweatshirts and hoodies, that kind of thing. Or, it's like everything in her style changes based on her current mood or obsession. So if she's really into opera or something, she'll be wearing very sophisticated outfits all the time and everywhere she goes. But if she's really into, rap or something, she'll be more casual with her clothing. Then we have...
She gets really into Batman, and she wears a Batman cowl.
Yeah, that's exactly. She wears a Batman cowl everywhere she goes.
That feels like a B plot to an episode. She gets obsessed with Batman and then starts skulking. Just about the bar.
The cowl thing is like something she's really thinking about doing. Like she starts wearing all black and everything and like going around. She basically looks like Robert Pattinson in the opening scenes of The Batman, where he's got like this like really lots of layers on, big dark clothing, and he's like on a motorcycle and he's listening to Nirvana all the time. That's what she's doing. All of a sudden she's riding a motorcycle everywhere and she's constantly listening to Something in the Way. Then we have Yan Alexander. Yan Alexander, who is another graduate, typical office worker, seemingly has no purpose at work, but doesn't really care that like his job doesn't really mean anything. His life is more about his hobbies, and he's always developing new ones, but he maintains an obsession with baseball and jazz. And the reason those two interests are connected to Haruki's is because both of them were college roommates. So they sort of developed the same interests at the same time and, fed off each other. And Yan is almost always in his work attire, which is a button-down and a tie. Next, we have Mark Braves. Mark Braves is a local jazz musician, very directionless kind of guy, can't really sing, very wealthy parents who help him along, but he resents them for not giving him a path in life. Next, we have Bridget Lynn, who is a quiet, reserved, standoffish convenience store owner. She doesn't speak a whole lot of English, but she does speak Korean, Japanese, and French, which is going to be important because they'll be talking to her, but unable to communicate until they learn that she speaks all these other languages, and they'll have to, they're going to be using a menagerie of those other languages to speak with her, which is going to be funny rather than just picking one and learning that.
They all decide to learn a language, but they don't coordinate on which language to learn, and so they come back 6 weeks later and they each know French, Korean, or Japanese. And it's just like, God damn it. And she's having a great time.
Yeah. It would be funny as they're learning them, too. She, they don't all know, the same exact stuff. So it's like one person, maybe Ruki, knows how to, introduce himself and say hi and ask for something in Japanese. But he doesn't know how to say, where's the bathroom or something, or, what are you doing later, and stuff like that. So they have to switch to somebody else who's doing Korean, and then switch to somebody else that's doing French, and they all know, the full spectrum of conversation in all these other languages, but not...
It's it's like that improv exercise in which you, get in a big circle, and each person does a word of a sentence, and you see what you come up with, but they have all figured out the sentence. But they each have to go with a different word in a different language. And she's just losing her fucking mind. She's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Just constantly switching.
Just put it into Google Translate, dipshit.
And the last sort of reoccurring character is Bob Holmes. Bob Holmes is a drunk who spends all day in the cafe/bar. He all day, so during like the hours of 9 to 4 in the afternoon, he spends drinking beer. And then all night, so about 5 to when they close, he spends drinking coffee. So he's got it completely backwards. But he spends the time drinking coffee to sober up from drinking beer all day. And he's always scribbling on all these crunched up papers. And he's this chill background character who's always making witty comments and little things. And he's also secretly a former local attorney, which will be important because there'll be an episode where they fuck up on their taxes and they're really stressing. And it turns out the drunk at the bar is actually a attorney and he can just fix it for them.
Fun. Boom.
So
easy peasy.
Easy peasy. But before we get into, the episode ideas, we have to get into the pilot, which will be called The Grand Opening. So, the show opens, Charlie, with narration by Haruki about how in college he said he always wanted to open a jazz cafe. And we'll see the real scene of him telling this to his college roommate, Jan Alexander, who laughs and thinks it's ridiculous. And they just, keep sitting in their room, sipping, boxed wine and listening to jazz music. But they've got the door open, and cute girl, which is Hanako, says that she thinks it's a great idea. And so Ruki continues through college as an English major, but picks up a minor in business and a job, and he's trying to make money as he gets through college, saving up. And when everyone graduates, he and Hannah get married, and they open up their little bar cafe in a tiny little storefront underneath an above-ground metro. And they call it Moonlight and Rain. The name comes from, there's a book called Tales of Moonlight and Rain, which is a book of Japanese and Chinese ghost stories. And I thought the name sounded cool, Moonlight and Rain.
That does sound cool.
Moonlight and Rain, the cafe, bar. So the narration ends, and as they light up the neon sign of the store and stand outside with their friends, so Barbara Toms and Jan Alexander are there. Jan and Barbara go inside. They're the first customers. They get a coffee, and they head to work, while Hannah and Ruki get excited for their first day as business owners. From here, we get a time lapse of Ruki standing behind the counter waiting as not a single person comes in for the entire day. So we'll see maybe an outside shot with a big window so you can see Ruki's face as, the day progresses and the neon sign flickers as, the sun goes all the way up and all the way back down and not a single person walks in at all in his first day in business.
That is a brutal day.
Yeah, not
just sitting,
not very exciting.
Watching. What funny stuff are we gonna have him do in the I'm assuming there'll be a montage of the clock ticks back and then we get cut to a shot of them and then the clock ticks forward again. What funny things are they gonna be canoodling on cars, on guitars? Maybe they're kissing. They're reading a book about how to attract customers.
I know this is. I wanted this to be kind of sad. Maybe she's doing stuff. Hannah is going around, and maybe she's cleaning the tables or walking around. Maybe you see her come in covered in paint and then go back into a back room and comes out with a painting and walks past. But I want him to just be. This is a very short time lapse. I want him to just sit standing at the counter waiting, just looking forward. Just come on, somebody come in, please.
Come
it's
on.
My dream right here, and nobody cares.
Yeah, that does suck. All right,
so,
I like it.
So that time lapse plays out, and we also will cut to Barbara, who's starting her first day at work, and she finds out that being a chef is incredibly intense and draining. So this is where we get. The bear scenes. I don't know. The Bear is that cooking show that's on FX, I think. I don't remember. Anyway, the bear. intense, behind the scene cooking stuff in a fancy restaurant where everyone's getting yelled at and everyone's saying yes, chef, and all this crap. And she's she's getting thrown into the trenches her first day, and is experiencing a whole lot of bullshit and insanity that is incredibly stressful. Meanwhile, while she's doing that, Jan spends his whole day trying to figure out what actually he's supposed to be doing. He's just like filing stuff and reviewing reports, but nothing on the reports make any sense. Everything is using like abstract language that doesn't make any sense. It's not like suspicious, like it all just seems like totally monotonous and unimportant. And he like asks people and it's like, oh, you just gotta, we're just filing the reports for this company. And he's like, yeah, but what do they do? He's like, oh, well, they handle the paperwork for this company. He's like, okay, but like, what do they do? He's like, oh, well, they manage the accounts for this company. And it just keeps going in a circle. And it all just seems like a bunch of like bureaucratic nonsense. Like there's no like corporate, just nonsensical connections. And it's all just paperwork that seemingly goes nowhere. And maybe at a point he's trying to figure out like it might actually all just be a loop. And the paperwork just continually goes around in a circle. And it goes nowhere. And somehow the money comes in, but he doesn't know how. And it starts off being a very relaxed day, but it becomes stressful as he's like, I'm losing my mind trying to figure out what's happening.
Can you guys tell Jake has recently started working in an office? He's loving it, obviously.
That's a missed connection. I used to have a job that was somewhat like this. My current work is in a court, and you can see the concrete results all the time. Anyway, what's it called? So none of that stuff made sense. An exhausted Barbara is confused, but full of like creative energy as she gets home. Like she's completely drained physically, but she just wants to like talk and have fun when she's done. And like she feels unused creatively because she's just doing like busy work all day for the other chefs. Like she's throwing out trash and stuff and setting up plates and things, but she's not actually like creating any dishes or cooking really. Mm-hmm. And Jan is like, he's not even physically exhausted. Like it's like he just stood in a room and did nothing all day. Like he thought he was like trying to figure out what was going on, but that's about it. His day was pretty relaxed, at least compared to Barbara. And so they arrive back at the Moonlight and Rain, only to find that the sign is off and the door is closed. Cut to the apartment of Hannah and Rookie, which is above the bar cafe, where Rookie has his head in his hands, just pouting as Hannah comforts him. And he's talking about how he's a complete failure and how he's so sorry and he just wasted all his money getting this place and fixing it up and his life is ruined, blah, blah, blah. And they get a knock at the door and Hannah goes, and it's Jan and Barbara who are like, hey, is everything all right? And she tells them that the first day didn't go so well. And Rookie will yell into the next room, no one came! Not a single person came! All day I stood and nobody showed up. And they'll come in and they'll go down to the cafe, all four of them. The cafe is kind of like the, in Friends, they have the Central Perk Cafe as their meeting spot. In How I Met Your Mother, they have the bar as their spot. This cafe bar that Rookie owns is that. And they have their sort of booth that's close to the counter so that Rookie can always be part of the conversation. This is like their central meeting point, before episodes and things like that.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
They're all down there drinking, talking about how crap their new jobs are and complaining and everything. And as they're like kind of beginning to have fun and enjoy themselves a little bit, an older gentleman comes in, which is going to be Bob Holmes, and he comes in for a coffee. And so that, Rookie's excited. He gets his first actual customer that's not one of his friends. And Barbara decides that she's going to cheer everybody up, and so she bakes them all a cake as they're drinking, having fun. And they start eating the cake, and people are then coming in and asking to buy some of the cake, and so they start selling some of the cake as well. And Barbara's kind of realizing like she enjoys this side creatively much more than she enjoys her job at the restaurant already. She's not like gonna leave, but she's like glad. She's kind of glad that she's being able to do something that put some of her skills from school into work. And so she offers to make something every morning so that Jan can so that Rookie can sell something. And Jan is like, like I can also distribute flyers or something to my colleagues at work to help spread the word, because they kind of realize maybe just opening a cafe isn't enough to suddenly have a customer base. You have to like advertise and stuff and draw people in. So
you have to have a good reason for them to come here rather than where the Starbucks or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And Jan also sees this as like he can use this poster and flyers as an excuse to try to get some of his coworkers out of the office and like get some more information on what the hell they're actually doing as well. So he's like, I just gotta, I'll invite them to the cafe, get him a couple drinks. I'll get my boss to come, get him a couple drinks in, and try to figure out what exactly we do. So this starts to work, and more people are coming in. Barbara realizes she enjoys this part of her day way more than her job at the restaurant, helps her feel more fulfilled. Jan is still struggling to figure out what the hell his job is, what he actually does at his work. But he did get his boss to come to the cafe and, got a couple drinks in him. And all he gets out of his boss is not, the information on what his job actually is, but his boss is like, you know what? You're one of the best employees I've ever hired. You're amazing. I love having you here. You're only a week in and you're already like so much better than anybody else I've ever hired. You're fantastic. And he buys everyone around at the bar cafe. And his friends are like, wow, you're really putting in the work. He's like, I don't do anything all day. I do absolutely nothing. I just sit at my desk and I play fucking Mario Kart on my Switch. Like, I don't understand how I'm a good employee. Like, I don't do anything.
What am I doing? Yeah.
So, he's just confused, but he's like, all right, you know what? Maybe it doesn't matter what my job is. I'll just keep going, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with not doing any work every day and getting paid.
Yeah. It's okay.
And,
I'll start reading,
Yeah. I'm fine with like the little work that I do doesn't really do anything or matter. My life can be about other things besides work. And everyone starts to seem more content and happier with how things are going as these, the end of the first episode approaches here. And but Hannah notices that Ruki doesn't look quite right. Now the cafe's doing a lot better by the end of the episode. They've sort of solved the problem, but he still looks kind of off. And he tells her that this isn't quite what he imagined, when he thought about his cafe bar. He wanted like a space for live music so that people could play live jazz. He wanted a bigger bar area so you could really serve drinks and coffee. He wanted a lot more tables. He wanted lots of bookshelves everywhere. He wanted people to be able to read and have fun. He wanted his whole bar to be like a nice big meeting place for people and have all kinds of different stuff you could do. And it's kind of just too small for that. It's a very small little storefront. There's like room for like 2-3 tables, and the seats at the counter. So it's not quite what he imagined. He's kind of a little bummed about it, but he's happy about like the little progress they've had. And as he's saying this to Hannah, the old man, Bob Holmes, just snorts and says, asks when they're going to open up the basement. And he's like, the basement? Hard cut to them opening the cellar and seeing it leads into a massive abandoned metro station.
Oh,
end of
cool.
Episode 1. So that was the pilot of the show. Episode
like
2 will be about them realizing that the metro station is actually technically a part of their deed for the storefront. And so they start outfitting it and they start building, this whole cafe bar area down there with like a spot for live music. And that's when we'll be introduced to Mark Braves, who's the local jazz musician. He's kind of directionless and has got some parental issues. Yeah. And it was also shit at singing. So the whole premise of that episode, after they get the cafe set up, is that they now have live music, but the live musician sucks at singing. He's very good at playing the saxophone, but everything else he sucks at. So they're trying to figure out how to break it to him. Jan will also get really into jogging to fill out his spare time, but he's really out of shape, so that doesn't help. And also he keeps getting splashed by cars, which he finds is obviously incredibly annoying. So he's not really enjoying his new hobby. And that's when he'll first meet Brigitte Lynn as well. And he's sort of the B story this episode, him jogging and him getting to know Brigitte. And at first he thinks that she's like playing coy and he's trying to flirt with her, but it's not really working. But he realizes it's just she doesn't actually speak a whole lot of English. And this is where we first get like the language plot starting to develop. But I think the language plot will be like a reoccurring joke throughout the show.
It's a season arc.
Yeah. or just a reoccurring joke.
Yeah.
Barbara will move up at the restaurant. She'll reach sous chef because the other one quit. So she's like temporary sous chef because the other, the actual sous chef's gone. But she doesn't really find the whole role anymore fulfilling. Some other arcs that I have in the show, not per se in this next episode, will be Barbara eventually quitting her job as a chef, and she'll be starting a food truck, which she will constantly get tired of the cuisine she puts in it. So that'll be a reoccurring problem. Is like she's constantly switching between, first she's a taco truck, and now she's serving barbecue, and now suddenly it's only froyo, and it's constantly changing. And eventually she'll realize that she should just make that part of her shtick, is that she constantly changes the menu all the time. And so she'll, instead of naming the place like Taco Bonanza, she'll just call it Barbara Tom's. And the shtick is that like the menu always changes, but it's always good. So people, she's got a strong customer base. It's always delicious.
We always have good food. It's just not always the same food.
We'll also have a bit of, so we, this show is somewhat relationship based on How I Met Your Mother. So we've got, similar to, the couple in How I Met Your Mother, which is Marshall and Lily. We have the couple which owns the shop here. So they're like the sort of stable group in this. But we have to have, of course, a love triangle because, it's a sitcom. So we have Mark Braves and Jan who are going to be competing for Barbara consistently. It's not like, them two fighting over the girl. It's like, she'll get into a relationship with Mark and it won't go well, and they'll break up, and then Jan and her will get together at some point, and then they'll break up, and Jan will get with Brigitte, and blah blah blah, and that'll go back.
And then
back and
Jan and Mark will get together, and Brigitte will be sad about it, and it'll be a whole thing.
Be a whole thing. And the only other big talking point I have here is that one of Hannah's big arcs is that she doesn't want the cafe to consume her life, and she'll feel that she has to constantly put in a lot of work to support Rookie at the cafe, and it's his dream, but it's not really her dream. She wants to be an artist, and eventually they'll come to like a satisfactory compromise, which is like she'll help out every once in a while, but like Rookie understands that this isn't like what she wants in her life, and she'll put up her paintings in the cafe and so it will become more of hers because she's now putting up her stuff in that, and people are buying her paintings through the cafe, so that she can focus on her art.
I was assuming she was gonna that was gonna end with her being like, and now I'm gonna host an art class, once a week. We're all painting together,
That'd be neat. She could do an art class at the cafe on like Tuesdays or something. I don't know. Tuesday art class.
Yeah, Tuesdays when no one's in.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. And then Rookie will, he becomes more and more happy and excited by his cafe, and becomes more and more what he imagined when he was in college.
Yeah,
but that is my show. It's very simple sitcom.
I like it. Fun. I think it's a fun, casual show. Something you could totally flip through and just like, oh, that's on. I'll watch that. Underground Funk. Sure, why not?
Yeah.
Not a show that's going to develop a lot of theories week to week, but that's okay. Not every show needs to have theories every week.
Yeah. No. It's just like a light, Kim's Convenience style, or How I Met Your Mother style sitcom. It's about the characters. It's about, young people finding their purposes, finding
figuring
it's
out
about
who
small
they are.
Small businesses, trying to get off the ground, the struggles, people searching for their dreams, very all that good stuff. Nice sweet little sitcom.
Nice sweet sitcom, and there should definitely be a cast of two guys who do a podcast in the thing, because you ever hear about those pubs that they let you do a podcast in them?
Yeah, I've heard of. Yeah,
surely we should put ourselves into the show as two guys who do a podcast, and the joke will be, yeah, they do a podcast, no one listens to it.
That would be
Like,
funny if we had like an episode that was like a cold open, and it was us recording a podcast in the cafe, and we get kicked out because we're like disturbing the other customers, and they're like, "This isn't like your recording studio. Like, you can't just like be doing a podcast here. Come on, get out."
Yeah, you need to ask permission.
And we're still doing it as they're kicking us out. Like, we're just refusing to break.
Well, thank you,
refusing
everyone.
to stop recording.
Yeah. Well, thank you, everyone, for listening to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I'm afraid that due to some technical difficulties, we're going to have to cut it short.
And I'm like, your mic isn't even plugged into anything. Like, what are you saying? Just get out of here.
Yeah. Just self-defacement, because it's funny.
It is. It is very funny.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I like that show quite a bit. Underground Funk, everyone. Check it out. Listen to it. And if you can't listen to the whole episode and imagine this TV show, listen to some funk music. Just turn on a little bit of funk and be like, this is pretty good.
Charlie,
you know?
Your statement just there, if you can't listen to the whole episode, if they've reached this point of the episode, they've listened to the whole episode.
No, people skip to the end all the time.
I don't think they do, but all right.
No, they do, because they want to hear my cold exit.
Okay.
Is it a hot exit? Thank you, everyone, for listening to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I've been your host, Charles, along with me, as always, my co-host, producer, co-pilot, gunner, navigator, orator, and podcasting associate, Jacob Gloth. If you like what you heard here and want to hear more, please give us a like, a follow, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dog, tell your cat. And remember, we will be here next week with a brand new televisual series to imagine and enjoy. Do you want to know the title of it? Do you? Jake's going to tell you the title of next week's episode.
I will. So I already told Charlie the title, so he already knows. But it is The Standard Deceit. Very exciting.
The Standard Deceit.
I really have no idea what you're going to do with that, so I'm excited.
Me neither. But I'll figure it out. Probably day of. It's going to be awesome. All right, thank you, everyone. And goodbye.